Hey everybody, Charlie and I are two here, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. When we last left off, we met the Japanese Edgar Allan Poe here by the name of Soseki Natsume, and we're going to continue to talk to him. He is being accused of stabbing a lady in the back on, I think it was Brick Street or something like that, Bridges Street, some type of street here in jolly old London. So let's go ahead and see what we can figure out about the case. It was an accursed evening just after the snow had started to clear with a heavy fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. Is everything accursed? Is this what I get for constantly saying that instead of accused during the last case with Van Zykes? Sure, the bookshop wasn't accursed too. Oh, sure the bookshop wasn't accursed too? That was kind of a question in our mind. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. Okay, so she looks a bit rotund. Ear looks weird sticking out there. Your beard is weird. Your ear is weird. Of course, this is just his recanting of it. This isn't an actual photograph. Almost looks like a steak knife? Maybe not. Fancy steak knife. Pink shoes. There's snow all around except for exactly where she fell. She has books. All right, let's continue on. Oh, he's freaking out. How terrible. I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. I forgot about your alliteration, good sir. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. Slight? I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. That's not good. Alright, now you're acting all, like, shady. Looking around over your shoulder. They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Soseki-san. Was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Oh, he's pissed. Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English? And a young woman at that? I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. I see. A young woman unknown to Soseki-san. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you and there was nobody else in the street at the time? That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? Really, what conundrum, Ryu? Obviously somebody stabbed the lady. The conundrum. What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Soseki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim, and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen. I did. If that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. Arg, you? I said that in my mind. What did you say? Just say? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought that a little loudly. We thought it too loud? Actually, that's not what's troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested. This is true too. Sorry? He didn't touch the victim and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh yes, she's right. Ellipses. It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me. Of all the bad luck. Accursed great detective? Could it be? Yeah, I'm sure it is, Sherlock Holmes. I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed busybody, be gone. May you be cursed until the end of your days, Sherlock Holmes. I knew it. Mr. Sholmes? Oh, that just changed one of them to another one. Okay. Sherlock Holmes. Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. They started shouting at me, "This is the police, put the weapon down." Yes, it was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting dietary discrimination devils. You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Sherlock Holmes. It's actually just Sherlock Holmes. He's English. I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, the great detective is really very well known. And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman. Me? This weak, stooped kitten of a man? I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Okay, so I'm going to call it now. This case, once we make it to court, is going to be the culmination of everything we've learned thus far. We're going to have the weird deductions that Sherlock Holmes has, where we have to correct one or two things within his deduction. We're going to have the jurors that we have to sway left or right that we did in the last case. We're already investigating scenes and collecting clues like we did in the second case. So this is going to be all that kind of wrapped up together, and it may introduce something else as well. That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown in a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were. That's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. Fiendish, foreign, flim-flammery. Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, but my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. Oh, no. Did you confess? The next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. I'm fine. He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Ooh, Esquire. I like that. Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple Mr. is more than enough. Oh yes, alright, yes. They've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, why? Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself on a study tour. Why would you tell him this? A student? I've defended a case in the Old Bailey. Only the one, though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. Don't tell him this. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. This is a fact. Oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm a sort of locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband, that's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, who do you mean? The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers. They won't defend me. Goodness, why? Why do you say that? For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them, someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my earshot, without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. Soseki-san, it's just that. Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh yes, thank you. I'll be here all alone waiting for you. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. We've already did all the converse options, right? Yep. So it looks like we're gonna have to move back to the crime scene. I bet you it was Briar Road. I bet you we'll see Herlock here. Mr. Sholmes. Oh. Gregson, I believe is his name. Yeah. What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Investigating the crime scene? Oh, Inspector Gregson. This isn't on the tourist trail. I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. So you've been to the holding cells then? What do you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Stop being racist. Everybody, every single character here is racist. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's for a foregone conclusion. Stone cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone cold air. Okay. That makes it worse somehow. She's trying. Alright, converse. Let's talk to Gregson. Yeah, tell us about Scotland Yard. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, I've been fascinated by the place. The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am. A little full of yourself, aren't you? Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Does it though? Like, I've always thought those helmets look silly. But, I mean, then again, what do I know? I probably grew up seeing them in cartoons. But it doesn't look menacing to me at all. It just looks quite ridiculous. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful? You're just flirting at this point. Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you. Oh, really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes round and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work. What, he wakes people up? Yep, raps on their windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit. Is this true? Did they really walk around and like beat on people's windows with a pole? I had no idea. Me neither. The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. I mean, how do you check? You didn't have Fitbit. Did he have to, like, report in every so many miles? Let me see. Or kilometers, actually. 20 miles. That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh my. And I suppose in between all those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law. I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly, more alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. I'd always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Why would you relinquish it to me? We don't want to wear the helmet. Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. Alright, about the case. It happened at around 5 in the evening 2 days ago, just there on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in a hospital. I never said she was a lady. What? Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. Suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You could take it if you want. Yes. Really? Are you sure? It's yard policy to give lawyers defending suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. The local map has been entered into the court record. Street map of the local area showing where the victim was found. Alright, let's look at that. Let's go ahead and go into court record. Look at this map. This is where the murder happened. What road is this? If this is Meerschaum Street, this is Calabash. Hold on. It's on the sign back there. I'll have to go and look at it again. Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but But just because he didn't see anyone, doesn't mean we can't be sure that nobody else was here or present. That's right, as Samuel L. Jackson so eloquently stated in Pulp Fiction, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Actually, that wasn't in Pulp Fiction at all. That was in the Boondocks, but it was still Samuel L. Jackson. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How can you be sure? How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. It what? We have two very reliable witnesses, no less. Ah. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now? Yeah, tell us about these witnesses. Who are these witnesses, Inspector? A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. That's not good. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. Oh. A policeman? That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked? Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part and parcel of being a bobby. Catching them bang? Oh, banging the act and all that. Yeah, phrasing. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow. Oh. I have no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to. That's that then. He's got no intentions of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Really? You gotta tell us that? Some great insight you have there, Susato-san. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? The person who led you to the suspect. I hear that was Mr. Herlock Sholmes. What are you bringing him up for? Was it something I said? The color is drained from his cheeks. Alright, we got tomorrow's trial. Let's do that one first. That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? Well, yeah, let's do it. Makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey. You mean? I read that as if Mr. Gregson was saying that. I'm sorry, let me redeliver this line. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. It is all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now. Yes, we did hear something to that effect. And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum, the master criminals, the violent ones. Master criminals? The violent ones. That's right, he handpicks his victims, only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely. That's just my point, Sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No. There's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest. Really? What sort of reason, Inspector? You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? Oh, you just really called him the Lord of Darkness. Okay. You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he put it? I enjoyed facing the Reaper. Out of all of the prosecutors that we've seen, he's by far the most interesting. Let's talk about Mr. Sholmes. Who did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions. Fiddle faddle. It's good popcorn. I like that. Hard. The man's an amateur. And I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh. I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime, wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, you've squeezed your fish and chips. He claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he? Gibble gabble. He just took fiddle faddle, and he placed the F with a G, and he made gibble gabble. Arg. Ever seen this before? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the Rants magazine. The wonderful publication in which the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes appears. Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Sherlock Sholmes tale at all. Well, I suppose there is an element of that. We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's a danger to us at Scotland Yard, as he is to all our criminals. That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Sounds like it is. Clearly, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion? Oh yes, what is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. Mr. Sholmes? By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes, exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all of this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did, which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again. The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address even. Whoa. So, that was not me advancing the text. That was Susato interrupting, so I didn't get to read that last line. It's Baker Street. She knows where he lives immediately. How do you know that? It's in the stories, of course. 221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage. How about we look at the crime scene some more? So we're to have a reunion already. With the great detective, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. Can we look at anything else here? I did want to see what that street name was. It's weird keys. B to move over. Strange. Strand Street. So this is Briar. This is Strand. Okay, is there anything else we can look at? Doesn't appear so. Okay. So we're gonna move. New location has been added. Sholmes' Suite. 221B Baker Street, the home and office of the most famous detective in the world. All right, and we're going to go there next episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, please consider a like, a comment, and or a subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.